Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, female 38, met my brother-in-law, male 38, at uni. He asked me out in our first year, and I refused. He called me the C word, and that I'm shallow. My best friend told me that it was harmless comments from a drunken guy who got rejected. I never thought myself shallow. It was his demeanor and awkwardness that was off-putting to me. Anyway, he proved my friend right, and other than these comments, I've never felt uncomfortable during my uni years because he never bothered me again. Not even looked my way. Next time I met him was when my baby sister, female 28, introduced him as her boyfriend. I didn't even recognize him at first because it was like 9 or 10 years since the day he talked to me. He was visibly annoyed that I didn't recognize him and called me a liar. The family was skeptical at first about him, but he seemed to treat my sister right, and she seemed happy. He is very rich, taking her all over the world, and he seemed kind to her too. They got married after a year of dating. They have 3 children. I met my now ex, male 40, 5 years ago, and the only odd comment from my brother-in-law was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in uni. At the time, I took it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I found out the truth and started thinking back looking for red flags, this was probably a big one. He never showed any signs that he disliked my husband, and he was always decent enough, and his indifference to have a close friendship with my husband and I didn't seem odd because he was always a recluse. A year ago, my husband came home and accused me of cheating, and he had evidence. The guy contacted him, and he had pictures, etc. of me on his phone. The guy told my husband that he didn't know at first that I was married, but as soon as he found out, he contacted my now ex. He even apologized to my husband. I've never met this guy in my life. Nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. He left me and our divorce is pending. Then yesterday, that guy contacted me. He apologized for what he did and told me that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me conversations, endless conversations my brother-in-law had about me for years. He has never forgotten that I, in his words, didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by his looks. He called me a C in that chat. Both groups chats with his friends, but mostly with this guy. They planned this attack, and my brother-in-law somehow got access to my photos. The reason this guy contacted me now is that he felt guilty, because even though my marriage is over, my brother-in-law still was angry and hateful, especially when he heard that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend felt that he didn't help his friend, but ruined innocent people's lives. Not sure what to do. My brother-in-law has actually been happier and more sociable than usual since my divorce, and now I know why. Although at first I thought he felt sorry and wanted to support me. His jokes about me ending up an old maid with cats as companions don't sound like jokes anymore. He meant them. I don't want to ruin my sister's life. She's very happy with her husband. I'm not sure either if I can with her husband. I'm not sure if I should tell my ex or not. I'm very heartbroken that he didn't believe me. I love him very much. He's the love of my life. But I'm not sure if I can forgive him for not believing me. He is a victim in this too, so maybe he needs to know for closure. OP needs to tell everyone what brother-in-law did. This is beyond normal petty stuff. What will he do next if he's not stopped now? If OP gets married again, will he do the same again? Also, OP's sister deserves to know who she married, and OP's ex deserves to know he was lied to. I wouldn't be able to forgive him for not believing me either, but he does deserve to know what happened. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Girl in the red costume says, yes, you should tell your sister her husband is crazy. You should also clear your name with your ex, even if you don't want to go back to him. You should also go to the police over your pics he shared without consent. Nomad17 says, first, get a written or taped confession from the guy, and also the screenshots of the messages. Then contact your lawyer for legal options as in suing brother-in-law. Where I am, defamation is very serious because your reputation affects your career. Seek advice from trusted friends or your parents. If it was me though, I'd plead like crazy for the evidence and go after brother-in-law. If he can do that to OP, he can do anything to sister. Meg38 says, he destroyed your marriage and you're questioning whether to blow up his life or not? Your husband needs to know what a giant mistake he's made, and your sister deserves to know what kind of man she married. He's been obsessed with you for years, and clearly not a great husband to her. Grow a spine and stand up for yourself. Ex cheated on me with his current wife. That was 5 years ago. Ex and I share 3 sons who are 11, 10, and 8. Ex's wife has a daughter and a son with her ex, who she also cheated on with my ex. The two of them have said it all, from "it was meant to be" to "how great it is because the kids all have a bigger and happier family," blah blah blah. I'm over it in some ways. There's very much a sting that the affair partner in my marriage gets to call herself my kid's stepmom, but I'm not at all sorry that my ex is gone. The man slept with her behind my back for 18 months before her husband and I found out. I'm civil when the kids are around. I ignore them when the kids aren't around. This whole thing happened over my ex's parents. They were disgusted with him for cheating. Mother-in-law told him that he destroyed his kid's foundation, that leaving a spouse is never easy, and divorce is hard for kids anyway. But when you add conflict in the way of cheating, you take something from a child that they can rarely ever get back. And that's parents who can still care about each other and want the best for each other despite not being together. They stayed very close with me and haven't welcomed ex's wife at all. Nor have they been involved in ex's life since, really, or his stepkids. It bothers her a lot. My youngest son won an award in school a couple of weeks ago. Ex and his wife were there. So was I. Ex's wife ended up coming up to complain to me because both mine and ex's parents showed up briefly, spoke to my son, then to me, and left. She was saying how unfair it is, how her kids don't understand why ex's family have nothing to do with them, and why they never see them, but they know my kids have a relationship. She said ex's family loves me. It hurts her feelings to feel not good enough. I'll be honest, I rolled my eyes first, but then I laughed because she seemed to expect sympathy or help from me. Laughing at her pissed her off. I have heard from her and my ex that I was rude. I should care about the kids at least, and I'm not thinking of my kids when I keep bad blood between us and laugh at her suffering. One part of me doesn't care and believes I'm fine once my kids couldn't see it. Another part of me wonders if I was an a-hole to laugh at her. Am I the a-hole? What did she think was going to happen? That OP's ex's parents would be happy, knowing that he's a cheat and so is she? It's unfortunate that her feelings are getting hurt, but it's not exactly surprising that they wouldn't want anything to do with her. The ones I have actual sympathy for are her children, because they're suffering on account of their mother's poor decisions, but that's not OP's problem. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Bacardi Wynn says, not the a-hole. So, like, she ruins your marriage. I know he did as well, but wants you to help her out? The nerve, and she's lucky you just laughed. Proud of you for not saying what you really wanted to say after all this time. Not the a-hole. Castle of Arg says, not the a-hole. Your in-laws sound like great people. They know who the mother of their grandchildren is and have never given up on you. The ex's new wife is just upset that there are consequences for their actions and wants everyone to forget that she and your ex both tore apart their respective families and tried to patchwork their own big family. If you're civil in front of the kids like you say, then I'm fully on board with your reaction. She and her kids already have 2 sets of grandparents outside of your in-laws. She just doesn't want the guilt of doing any wrong. Wonderful Horror 7315 says, not the a-hole. I still relish the day my ex's side piece called me crying because he cheated on her. Like I would care, or be surprised with her. I laughed and laughed, still laughing. Never stop laughing, OP. I, female 26, had an affair with a married man, male 42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business, which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him, and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great S, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy. It's embarrassing. The things he'd ask me to do, I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would of course dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected this reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core when he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay, to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting. What the duck? And to buy me something special if I'd just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids, and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go and get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide, because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me, and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times it's been difficult, but overall we are thriving as best we can. I've kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling, and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I'm unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same that she does. Well, it's a little bit strange that she contacted OP, because I doubt he confessed about OP to her, so I wonder how she found out. Honestly, I would block her without replying if that's what OP's gut is telling her to do. OP's gut saved her in the past, so she should trust it now. Sure, in an ideal world, they could be a nice little blended family. But is that the reality? I have to agree that it's a little weird her coming out of the blue like this. It seems manipulative. Or another option is to wait. OP's child is only 2, but as he gets older, he will want to know about his father and siblings. So OP should tell her child the truth when he gets a little older, and then he can make his own decision. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Psychological Cry 333 says, OP, are you sure this is truly his ex-wife contacting you? Could it be him using her account or fake account to initiate contact with you for some twisted reason? Please be careful and make wise decisions when agreeing to meet this woman and her kids. I know you want to do the right thing. Just be very careful. Linny Pixie says, since she knows and is divorced now, I would summon him for child support. Ask for a DNA test. The money is for your child. Your child deserves it. Eyeball Bee Sting says, so many people telling you to go for it for the sake of the child and possible child support. But I would say that you have good instincts which served you well. Don't ignore them now. You are leading a happy life with your child. You have survived so far without his financial help. Letting her and the children into your lives will be inviting him back into your life too. You also don't know what her intentions are, or if it is even her who is contacting you. No matter what, it will be inviting him back into your life in some way. He made you feel unsafe and wanted you to get rid of your child. He also abandoned you and your child. He cheated on his wife and kids for a long time. He is not a good guy. I would say keep him out of your life. Continue as you are. My fiancé, 36 male, and I, 34 female, have been together for several years and just got engaged in December 2023. Prior to getting engaged, we had started talking wedding plans back in August 2023 and have been pretty settled on our wedding party. We have my sister, 36, my best friend, 35, his niece, 13, as maid, matron of honors, and bridesmaid, and his nieces 6 and 4 as flower girls. His 2 best friends, 37 and 36, as best men, my nephew 14 as groomsmen, and my nephew 10 and his nephew 10 as ring bearers. Now, a little backstory that I will try to keep short, but still give enough info for informed decisions. Prior to us getting together, my fiancé was married for 3 years. Before getting married, they dated for 3 years. During the time they dated, she slept with her ex-boyfriend and got pregnant in an attempt to get back together with him. When he still rejected her, she attempted to force miscarriage multiple times, but still ended up having the baby. At the point my now fiancé separated from her, her child was about 4 years old. Initially, he did still try to spend time with her, but as she got older, she started showing severe behavior issues. She doesn't listen to any adults, knows right and wrong, and will intentionally do what is wrong, wait to be told to stop, then continue to do it until she is yelled at. Then she plays victim. She picks on other children, including her nieces and nephew and his family, or saying mean things. She gets in regular fights at school. She regularly tells me she hates me and wishes I didn't exist. Really, the list goes on. The last few years, my fiancé and I have had minimal contact with the ex-wife's child. His parents, however, still insist that she is their granddaughter and get her at least once or twice a month and demand her daddy needs to come see her. To clarify more, they are picking her up from her bio-father's house. My fiancé will tell them no. They will also get her and bring her to holidays, family gatherings, the niece's nephews' birthdays, uninvited. It got to a point where the oldest niece asked them to not bring her to her birthday because she is so mean to her and the other kids. They still brought her. Now, here is the am I the a-hole question. Despite having our wedding party planned for months, my fiancé came to me and said that if all the other kids in his family are in it, then she has to be, or her feelings will be hurt. I personally don't care if her feelings are hurt, and am fine excluding just her because of how she treats everyone. We both know she will be invited, because even if we don't invite her, his parents will get her and bring her anyway. So am I the a-hole for not wanting my fiancé's ex-stepdaughter in my wedding party? Challenge Flat says, why would your fiancé's ex-wife's affair baby even be invited to the wedding, let alone in the wedding party? Especially since she's an unholy terror, apparently. How do the grandparents even condone the behavior from this child? EJ1004 says, not the a-hole. If your partner really believes it is imperative that this child be in the wedding, then your partner can deal with any misbehaviors that may occur by having the troublesome child in their wedding party. That child and this issue aren't yours to deal with. I would honestly consider uninviting the grandparents, assuming they bring the child. Feisty stay-at-home mom says, not the a-hole. You have every right to set boundaries, and you should not only have them, but enforce them.